Hi, I'm TJ Thielen with Source Allies, and welcome back to the series where we walk through all of the basic configuration of Codebeamer, where we take out-of-the-box Codebeamer and configure it for our own project. In this video, I'm going to show you how to configure releases. So what is a release? Well, a release is a specific version or milestone of a project deliverable. And how does Codebeamer support that? Well, they have a built-in releases tracker that comes out of the box that you can go to and just create a new item. So let's do this. Let's create an item and call this our major release. Here you can see that we have start date, which I can set that to today, a planned release date, which I'll set just a few weeks out in the future, and we could set an actual release date for when we end up releasing this product or deliverable, whatever it may be. I'm not going to set that yet just because it's not actually being released yet. We don't know the date. You could set a sprint length, or you could change the release method to Kanban or waterfall. I'm going to leave all of this how it is and just click save. Perfect. So we now have a major release created. But what if we want to break that down into smaller sprints? Well, there's this new sprint button up here that you can select. And really what this is doing is just creating another release where the parent is the major release. So it'll have all of the same fields where we can just set the first sprint can be today. It'll be, say, only a 1-week sprint. And we'll call this sprint 1. So now, if we go back to the major release, you can see that we have a sprint that lives inside of the major release. Let's create a couple more of these just to fill it out a little bit. So I'm going to make sprint 2. I'm going to say it is starting on the 4th and ending on the, I went too far, on the 10th. I'm going to hit save. One more thing to note, it might be a little bit confusing if you try to just immediately create a new sprint after creating the last one, because by default it'll set the parent to the sprint that you just created. So you will actually have to go back a level to your major release and then create new sprint for this to do what you want. So we're going to do one more sprint, sprint 3. We're going to start this on the 11th and end it on the 17th. All right, so if we go back to the major release, you can see that we now have 3 sprints planned out, and if we click this release Gantt chart, you can even view how these all look together. If you'd like, you can even edit these in the Gantt chart by just dragging this timeline to whatever date you'd like, which is a really cool feature of Codebeamers. Okay, so now that we have our releases created, let's actually fill them out a little bit. Let's add stuff to them. So I have a few user stories already created. Just to save some time, they're just blank things. They just say sprint 1 item, 2 item, 3 item, and so on. And I am going to associate these with a release. So I'm going to go over here and just mass edit them and associate all of them to the major release. Save that and save. And now if we click on any of these, you can see that release says major release. Okay, so let's go back to the releases tracker and see what we've just done. Well, right now it doesn't really look like anything, but if you go to plan releases, you can see that we have these 5 items that are inside of major release. You can even add more into the major release by unselecting this project or product backlog, and then you can view up here there's some filters, so this is showing any tracker within this project. So I could even add system requirements or customer requirements to the sprints. I'm going to leave this with just the items that we want here, and I'm going to associate these with sprints within it. And I can do that by simply dragging and dropping the items onto the sprint that I'd like to associate them with. So I'm going to associate one with sprint 1, one with sprint 2, and one with sprint 3. All right. this kind of gives you a nice little breakdown of you have your major release along with your sprints and items in each of them. All right, the final view that I really want to show you is going to be the Kanban view. So if we go back to our releases tracker and we click into this major release, you can see that up here we'll have a Kanban board view. If I click here, you'll be able to see all of the items that are associated with this release, which will be all 5 of these. And you can even see that within the major release, this one is associated with Sprint 1, this one with Sprint 2, and this one with Sprint 3, which is really cool. And then you can drag these to in progress, verify, or done. So let's do this. Let's say Sprint 1 is done. And let's say Sprint 2 is in progress. And let's say Sprint 3 is in progress too. And you'll notice something pop up that says overloaded. Now this happens because if we go to the configuration of the Kanban board, we can set work in progress limits. And I have this set to where the maximum amount of items that are allowed to be in progress is only 1. You can change this to whatever you'd like to be. I have this set just to show you what it looks like. It'll just pop up with an overloaded flag, and that's your warning to say, hey, you've got too many items in progress. So let's move this back. All right. So now that we've played around with the statuses, which is actually what this is doing, if we were to go to this item, you can see that the status field on that item now says in progress. Now that we've messed around with that, let's go back to releases. We can see now, right here, the little breakdown, we have one done. And we can create a major release burn down by hitting this calculate now, and it'll show you the progress that you've been making along with what is ideal. It's got a little dotted line. It doesn't look that cool because we've just done everything today, but it'll be a nice little burn down chart over the weeks as you complete things. Finally, I'm going to show this release Gantt chart one more time because it actually shows the amount of completion in each sprint. So Sprint 1, the only item associated with it is in the completed status. So this sprint is done. The major release has 20% done because there are 5 items associated with it, and only 1 of them are done. Sprint 2 and 3 have not been moved out of to do, and therefore they are not done. Yeah, so that kind of concludes setting up releases and sprints in Codebeamer. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you have any more questions, please leave a comment down below and we'll get to answering them. And thanks for watching.